So I'm Marlene Zentz. I'm an accessibility specialist here at Online, and I'm with Erin Page, who's a student accessibility specialist here at Online. And we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the assistive technologies Erin uses and give some really concrete examples of how to make any materials you design for your students more accessible. So, Erin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, my name is Aaron Page. As Marlene said, I'm a student accessibility specialist here with Online. I'm currently a sophomore here at the University of Montana. I'm studying information systems management through the business school.
Okay, Erin, and if you could talk a little bit about if you could just tell us the assistive technologies you use and at what point in time in your life you began using these assistive technologies.
Sure. So I was actually born with congenital glaucoma, but was pretty fortunate to have 20/30 vision out of one eye up until October of 2009, where I had some medical complications that ended up costing me most all of my remaining functional vision. Since then, I have learned to use many different types of assistive technologies, primary of which would be screen reading and screen magnification softwares. The screen reading software that I use on my computer is called JAWS for Windows. It stands for Job Access with Speech, and it's made by a company called Freedom Scientific. JAWS is basically the gold standard when it comes to screen reading software for the blind. I also use an accompanying magnification program called Magic, which is also made by Freedom Scientific, and it's designed to be able to blow up text, make it really large, or invert the colors, different things like that to make it easier to see.
And generally speaking, you're managing in a field where you have to do math. Tell us how you access math content right now.
So math has definitely been one of the more difficult accessibility issues to deal with as a college student. I basically ended up having to have a reader, a sighted individual, hired in order to work with me on getting through the math. For those blind people who are familiar with Braille, if you are familiar with what's called Nemeth code, it's Braille math, basically. That is a solution for some blind people to get through Braille, but you have to be very familiar with it, which usually will mean you had to have been born blind, grown up reading Braille. And then if you are familiar with Nemeth, it costs a lot. On average, you're usually talking $10,000, if not more, for a single textbook to be printed out in Nemeth.
Yeah, and even using JAWS is fairly complex as well, wouldn't you say? It's not just something that you just, at least for me, I've been trying to learn how to use JAWS. It's not something that you just one day pick up and you're good to go.
No, it's really not something that you can just kind of pick up and run with. I myself was really fortunate in that vocational rehabilitation paid for me to go to a training center in Arkansas, where I lived there for 3 months, and I did 8 hours a day every day of nothing but assistive technology, Braille, canes, that type of thing. And so I managed to learn a lot about JAWS while I was down there. But that really was just a foundational level of knowledge. I still ended up having to use JAWS on a day-to-day basis and learn all these other techniques and ways to go about using it quickly and efficiently. And so I still, to this day, I learn new things about it all the time.
Yeah, so given the complexity of it, it's really helpful now if your professors design online content in a way that JAWS picks up and reads really well, correct?
Yeah, if material has been created in a way that makes it much more friendly to screen readers, it can really reduce the amount of time and hassle it takes to deal with documents.
Yeah, and then the Macs, you use Macs and the Windows platform. Can you talk about the accessibility of mobile devices in the Mac side of the world?
Sure. So Mac and Apple, it's really interesting. It's a very different paradigm from what you see on the Windows side of things. For your Windows computer, in order to get a really truly fully functional screen reading and screen magnification, you have to buy that software. JAWS costs about $1,200, $1,200 if I remember correctly. Magic is somewhere in the $500-$600 area. So you're going to drop $1,700-$1,800 just for the software for your Windows machine. Macs, on the other hand, they actually come with fully functional screen reading and screen magnification built right into it. Mac computers, like my MacBook Pro here, comes with a fully functional screen reader called VoiceOver, and it comes with a screen magnifier called Zoom. And it has pretty much all the functions that you'll see in your paid for screen reading and screen magnification on your Windows machines. Comes for free built in on your Mac. Same with on their mobile devices, such as their iPhones and iPads. Those also come with their own mobile versions of VoiceOver and Zoom, so you can do screen reading and screen magnification on those as well.
Yeah, so you use all of that in your studies, correct?
I do. I really have found that there's different softwares, different configurations work better for different circumstances. So for example, if I'm doing anything that involves document editing or spreadsheets, it's easier to do that on the Windows side of things using JAWS. Whereas for reading textbooks, sitting there and reading through an entire chapter of a textbook is much more pleasant to do on the Mac side, because the VoiceOver screen reader has a much more human sounding voice, so sitting there listening to it for long durations is a lot more of a pleasant experience.
Yeah, and that's huge, I'm sure, just hours and hours of studying in a fashion that's auditory. And I was wondering, I know you have another technology you use for magnification besides what you've discussed. And I think you have it here today.
The Amigo.
Is it like a closed circuit television?
Yeah, so what it is, it's called an Amigo. It's a small closed circuit television. Basically what you do with it is you can turn it on, you stick it on top of a paper document, and it will, whatever text is on that document will show up on the screen. You can adjust the size of it, so you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can collaboration tool. So Skype actually, somehow they have designed it to where it will detect that you are using a screen reading program on your computer, and it will actually enable a screen reader mode, and it just makes it a more accessible interface. I believe it does kind of reduce the visual quality of it. It doesn't make it kind of look as pretty as the standard version does, but it makes it very accessible. You can navigate that entire interface by using tab or arrow keys or via the menus. Everything can be read off to you.
Right.
So Skype is a terrific tool, and you can use premium Skype to do like group conversations or sharing or any of your advanced things like that.
Right. So vendors can make products accessible, and we're working with Moodle to make them more accessible at the international level. But it's just a matter of the companies being willing to make products that are universally designed and accessible for all users. Wouldn't you agree with that statement?
I would, and it really comes down to the company has to make a commitment to, at some stage in their development process, to make that consideration, to think about accessibility.
Yeah, and Apple obviously did that very early on. They're like an example of that kind of thinking, I think. So.
Yeah, they really were pioneers when it came to just native out of the box. It is accessible, not as opposed to the previous model, which is usually trying to retrofit something later on down the line.
Right. So Erin and I do workshops on campus to show people how to create accessible content. And we just wanted to show you briefly 4 tips. If you're creating handouts for your students in your class, especially if you're middle and high school teachers, there's just some tips for making those documents accessible. And what we'd like to be sure and point out to you is that paper is inherently inaccessible. So the more you can work with digital text and be electronic, the better off it is for students in your class. So we're just going to show you 4 quick tips for making even a Word document accessible. And this applies to all sorts of other applications. So shall we do headings first, Erin?
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to show you now how to create a Word document so that it's accessible and is built with the principles of universal design for learning in mind. And we're going to talk about 4 items that if you can just remember these 4 items, you'll be light years down the road in terms of accessibility. So the items are headings, links, images, and lists. And we're going to talk about headings first. And you'll notice on our screens, my screen is on the left, and Erin's screen is on the right. My screen is the screen view you are used to seeing, and Erin's view is with JAWS running with the screen reader operating. So we'll demonstrate how these accessibility features really function for a screen reader user. So you'll see up here, the title is Creating an Accessible PDF Workshop. And notice when I highlight that text, up here, it tells me that I've made that a heading 1. So I've structured that with the title. And Erin, could you talk about the importance of these headings in Word documents?
Absolutely. So headings, what they do for your usual sighted individual, when you open up a document, you usually will kind of scan the document down with your eyes to try to find some particular section or whatever it is that you're looking for. So say you're looking for the course description in a syllabus, you'll open it up and your eyes will be looking for a header or something like that, some large emboldened text that says course description, and then you'll begin to read from there. For a screen reader user, in order to be able to do something similar, you have to have that heading structure in place. What most of your screen readers can do is they can tell their computer to provide them with a list of all the headings in the document, and then they can simply read through what headings are available in there, and when they find the section that they're interested in, they can select it. So we'll say working with PowerPoint, and it takes me directly down to the working in PowerPoint section. So putting in this heading structure can save a large amount of time, especially when a screen reader user goes back and reads your document a second time, Because generally speaking, the screen reader user will read through the whole document the first time, but the second time they'll probably be going back to find something specific. So if you've provided that heading structure, they have a way of actually being able to navigate quickly around that document.
And especially in a long document, this one's very brief and easy to get around in, but without that heading structure, it would be difficult to jump to sections. And notice on this one, introduction is a heading, but it's a heading 2 now because it's a subheading under the title of the course. So all these sections, working in Word to create a PDF, that's a heading 2. Working in PowerPoint to create a PDF, all those are heading 2s. If I had sections under heading 2s, I would just make those heading 3s. And I can go down to heading 6s, but usually I just go to heading 3 or 4, and that gives the document enough structure so that when that list of headings is pulled up, the screen reader user can jump to the appropriate area. So Erin, in your own homework, if you're having to read a long document, let's say it's a 10-page document, and if it has heading structure compared to the same document without the heading structure, what does that mean to you in terms of study time?
Oh, it saves me a great deal in study time, especially if it's something where I'm going to need to go back into that document and fish out little tidbits or facts in order to create a report or anything like that. Having that heading structure in there can save me a lot of time in being able to find particular sections of the document. Otherwise, all you can do is start at the top and work your way down.
Yeah, okay. And in Moodle too, like when students pull up that text editor, the ability to add heading structures in Moodle is there as well. We might demonstrate that towards the end here. So headings, that's a major thing to remember. Put structure into your document. The next feature we'd like to talk about is how to create links in a way that is universally designed. So you can see in this document, I have 3 links for you. There's see the University of Montana website for more information, click here for more information, and then there's a URL. And I'm sure you've all seen links provided where it's purely a URL, and that URL could be very long. I think all of us have seen many times ways to get to other websites by people saying click here, and here is the navigation link. What we would like to have you remember is that you should create self-describing links. And in this case, the University of Montana website is a self-describing link. That means the user knows where the link is going to take them. The name of where you're going is in the actual link title. So Erin, can you expand on why that's particularly important to screen reader users?
The main reason why you want to have self-describing links for screen reader users is screen readers have the ability to actually provide you with a list of all of the links that are on the page, just like you can with your headings. So up here on my screen, I now have brought up the list of all of the links that are currently on the page. The trick to this links list, as it's called, is that it takes the links outside of the context of any text that's surrounding it. So if your link is, for more information about the University of Montana, click here, and the words click here is the actual clickable text of the link, that click here is all that's going to appear in this links list. 9 times out of 10, when you have a website that's got one link that says click here, it usually has more than one. It'll have 2 or 3 or 4. And so what happens when you bring up a links list is you'll have click here, click here, click here, click here, just a row of click here links. You have no idea where each of those individual links is going to take you. And now, for just pasting in your URLs, there's 2 problems with that. One, it's not always apparent where the URL is going to take you just by reading it. Sometimes you can't really figure out that this is going to take me to this website. And the other problem is that URLs can get very, very long. And your screen reader, when it brings it up in a links list like this, it is going to read out the entirety of that URL. It's going to read out colons, slashes, question marks, ampersands, everything. So it can get very, very long. And again, you don't necessarily know where it's going to take you. So by providing those links in a self-describing manner, when the screen reader user requests this links list, it's going to be obvious where it is that the link is going to take you. So for example, we have University of Montana website is our link here. it's pretty obvious that link is going to take me to the University of Montana website. But next on the list, I have just the word here. There's no way for me to know by looking at it in this list where this here link is going to take me. And therefore, it's not self-describing, it's not accessible.
Great. Let's look then at images next and how we can put alternative text with images so that people who are not seeing the images still get the information. This is the third item we want to talk to you about. So I'm going to look at this image up at the top of our document, and I'm going to right-click on that image. And if I scroll down to Format Picture, and then I go to Alt Text, which means alternative text, I get a place where I can add the alternative text which describes the image. I can also give more descriptive information if I want to. In this case, the graphic is more to make the page look nice, and that's fine, but it doesn't have a lot of information. So I just wrote as the alternative text, creative drawing of campus location. And you have to kind of think what you want that alt tag to say, but in this case, I think I pretty much captured all the information that a screen reader user would need. If there's text in the image, you need to put the text in the alternative text, so that information for sure is conveyed. Erin, what would you say about something that's purely decorative, that looks nice to people who are, say, really strong visual learners, but it's a curlicue, let's say, or a divider?
Sure. So with images like that are purely there for aesthetic purposes, when you're talking about a document like your Microsoft Word document or your PDF, you do still need to put some type of a tag in that picture. And the reason for that is that the screen reader, if you don't, the screen reader user is going to come upon that picture of the curlicue, and it's going to say untitled graphic or graphic number 1. And they aren't going to know that this is a picture of a curlicue. They might think that there may be a chart or something here that I don't have access to because it's got no label. And so that could end up raising some concerns with them. Now, this is one situation in which your documents and Moodle actually differ a little bit. Moodle has some code implemented in it where if you put a purely decorative picture into Moodle and you do not give it an alt tag, it will create what's called a null alt tag, which basically causes the screen reader to just skip over it. But unfortunately, that doesn't work with Word documents and with PDFs. So even if the picture is purely decorative, if it's going to be a Word document or a PDF, something needs to go into the title for that picture.
Okay, and if the picture is taking you, it's functional, let's say it's a picture of a home button that takes you to the home page of a course or somewhere like that, what's the best way to describe in the alt text that particular image?
Sure. So for a picture that functions as a link, basically meaning that you can click on the picture and it will take you to some other place, your alt tag for the picture is what the screen reader is going to read as the link. So you need to focus your alt tag on where it's going to take you rather than what the picture looks like. So a really good example is on a lot of sites you'll see a little picture of a house. And by clicking on that picture of the house, it will take you back to the home page. Well, when you create the title for that picture of the house, since it's a link, it has a function, you want it to describe the function. So you would, rather than saying picture of house, you would say home page. That way, when the screen reader user comes across this link graphic, as the screen reader calls it, it's going to read out home page. You're going to know that this link will take me to the home page. Otherwise, if you say house, the link that you get is going to say house, and you're not going to know that this link called house takes you back to the home page.
Great.
And one other thing, also when it comes to pictures, you may have noticed when Marlene pulled up the alt tag in Microsoft Word, it actually had two separate fields there. It had title and it had description. So title is what's going to always be automatically read to your screen reader. Every screen reader basically is going to automatically read title. Description is a little bit different. Description, number one, you have to have a screen reader, something like JAWS, a screen reader that's sophisticated enough that it supports reading that description, but then you actually have to know specifically how to make it read the description to you. And so not all screen reader users are going to have access to the description. So that's something to bear in mind. Title is, you always want to have something in the title. If you choose to put something in the long description, the screen reader user may or may not necessarily have access to that.
Okay, great. All right, so we've done headings, links, images, and now let's talk about lists. And lists are a lot easier because I've got a list here down in working in PowerPoint to create a PDF. So Aaron, if you want to jump down to that section again.
We don't have this as a, I'm sorry, you said it's in the,
It's working in PowerPoint to create a PDF heading.
JAWS heading W, working in Word to create a W, working in PowerPoint to print bullet heading.
So here we've got a list of, and it's headings, links, images, lists, etc., and they're bulleted. And to make this accessible, all I did is I let Word do its thing. Notice up here, it told me, it highlighted this particular little icon that tells me that I built a bulleted list using the built-in tools in Word. And so I know that this is accessible. It's the same in Moodle. If you let the tools in Moodle help you create lists, then they're going to be accessible. So Aaron, could you talk about how important that is to screen reader users?
Sure. So the really great thing about a list that was created by using the Moodle or the Microsoft Word tools is that a screen reader user can get to that list by hitting just one simple key. If it's JAWS, you hit the letter L, or if it's VoiceOver, you hit Command-Control-L. But by one simple key combination, you can immediately get to that list. So that provides just a fantastic way of quickly getting to some really useful information. So if, say, in a syllabus you have a list of all of your exam dates, I've read through the syllabus once before, I know that list is there with all the dates. I can open up your document, your syllabus, press the letter L, and now I'm at that list.
Right.
It provides very quick navigation directly to the content.
Okay, wonderful. So those are four items that are really important for you to keep in mind if you're creating documents for your students. If you save this Word document as a PDF, you can know that the PDF is accessible. So that's a really important way to create a PDF is to make the Word document accessible, then save as a PDF, and then you know you're good to go. Aaron, thanks. Are there any other points you'd like to make before we wrap this up?
No, as far as the Microsoft Word and whatnot, I don't believe so. I guess I would just also point out that if you do create your PDFs by scanning a document, you really have to make certain that that scanned document contains text rather than an image. And so usually a simple way you can test for that is if you can highlight some text in your PDF, copy it and paste it into something else, then it's actual text. But if you're not able to highlight it with the mouse, it just highlights everything, then what you have in there is a picture, and that won't get read to a screen reader.
Great point. All right, Aaron, thanks very much. Really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me talk to you.